Red blood. So this is antiseptic.
Croton lecheris.
From blood-sipping trees, upside-down wonders, to the most shocking, weirdest plant on our list as number 1. These plants aren't just surviving, they're thriving with alien-like adaptations that blur the lines between fantasy and reality. Join us as we uncover these botanical marvels, starting with a legendary weird plant, a marvel that bleeds red and harbors centuries of mystique. Can you take a guess what it is? 15. Dragon blood tree. It's only right that a tree that looks so unreal be given a name like dragon blood tree. Native to the Socotra archipelago in Yemen, the branches of the tree together with the leaves form a perfect canopy, with no light able to pass through it, making for the perfect shade. And the fact that it's found where the weather can be harsh makes it extra useful. But it also has its own features that make it suited for the arid terrain it's mostly found in. Its thin leaves are shaped the way they are, so they lose as little water as possible to transpiration. But what's more impressive than how it conserves water is the extra things it does to get water and also give to its environment. Most trees draw water from the soil and up their roots to the leaves. Dragon's blood trees can also do the reverse, taking water from the air and passing it into the soil. Scientists suggest that the unique shape of the dragon's blood tree is an adaptation to life in its arid environment, allowing the trees to capture moisture from the fog and clouds. A dragon blood tree can inject several times more water into the soil than the local environment captures rainfall. As amazing as this plant's biology is, it has an even more intriguing mystery about it. In Arabic, the dragon's blood tree is known as Dam al-Akawain, which translates in English to the blood of the two brothers. According to folklore, the first dragon's blood tree grew in the spot where two brothers, Darsa and Samha, fought each other to the death. Another story holds that the trees sprouted from the drops of blood shed by a dragon while it fought an elephant. And what makes the folklore about this plant more interesting is that the bark of this tree has resin that is red in color, kind of like blood. But just like how dragons don't really exist, climate change threatens the existence of the dragon blood tree. And scientists project that with the way things are going, dragon trees may become a thing of folklore in a couple of decades. 14. Upside-down tree. The human race has a way of using myths to explain strange occurrences in nature, as we saw with the dragon blood tree, thousands of miles away in Africa. The same thing is happening with this plant. Baobab is a tree found in the savanna regions of Africa, where vegetation grows sparsely, but there is nothing sparse about the way this tree grows. When fully developed, it can reach heights of up to 80 feet tall and a width of up to over 30 feet in diameter. And as for the leaves and branches of this tree, they are all at the very top of the tree, almost forming a canopy, unlike most trees that have branches running along the length of the tree. This unusual orientation of branches and leaves is how one would imagine the roots of a tree to be, hence the name of the upside-down tree. And in Africa, the locals have a folklore story about why the tree looks this way. So according to African legends, when the gods made the first baobab tree, it was big and captivating and started to become really pompous about its appearance. The gods didn't feel happy about it, so they uprooted the baobab from the ground and put it back upside down to teach it a lesson. But aside from the crazy mythology behind this tree, it is very, very useful. To adapt to the arid weather of the savanna, it stores liters of water in its bark. This trait gives the tree bark a smooth and spongy texture. But its bark isn't the most interesting thing about it. That would be its fruit, a pulpy and fleshy mass rich in vitamins and oxidants which even hold medicinal benefits. And not to mention, most impressive of all, it makes the scenery around it truly breathtaking. While the upside-down tree will take your breath away, this plant will leave you excited no matter how many times you come across it. 13. Shame plant. This plant is so unique that it had to be named after a human expression, given its unique biology. The shame plant, or the sensitive plant, behaves in such a bizarre way that you can't help but play with it every chance you get. From its pinnate compound leaves made up of paired leaflets to its small round flowers, they may be small, but they are hard to miss. But what makes it weird is the fact that it does something that you wouldn't expect a plant to do: react to your touch. Its leaves have the distinctive ability to fold up whenever it gets touched, and this is known as thigmonesty. The plant does this as a defensive mechanism, as the undersides are less green and predators would perceive it as dead or unappealing to eat. But it's not just touch that makes this plant fold its leaves. A change in temperature also can cause it to fold its leaves. It does to conserve its water, and folded leaves mean less water will be lost during transpiration. But how this plant does this is amazing. There are sensors in the leaves that pick, and a signal is sent to the base of the leaves and to the petiole, which changes the water pressure inside of it, causing the leaves to fold. It's almost as if this plant has a nervous system of its own. Because of how unique this plant is, scientists couldn't help but carry out experiments on this plant, and they found out that if the plant is exposed to toxins that normally would paralyze animals, it could make the plant immobile and non-responsive to touch. While this plant is fun to interact with, it's best you stay away from this next plant. 12. Squirting cucumber. The squirting cucumber is a plant that turns seed dispersal into an explosive spectacle. Native to the Mediterranean region and parts of Western Asia, this unassuming-looking plant grows low to the ground, with fuzzy stems and leaves, producing small yellow flowers. Its fruit, a green cucumber-like pod, is the star of the show. When ripe, it becomes a high-pressure seed cannon. The slightest touch or disturbance causes the pod to burst, launching its seeds and a jet of slimy liquid up to several meters away. This remarkable mechanism helps the plant spread its seeds far and wide, ensuring survival in its arid, sandy habitats. The explosive action of the squirting cucumber is driven by internal pressure that builds up as the fruit matures. Inside the pod, cells absorb water, creating tension in the outer walls. When disturbed, the pod detaches from its stem, and the sudden release of pressure ejects its contents with surprising force. This adaptation is a brilliant strategy for thriving in environments where wind or animal assistance is scarce. The squirting cucumber has been both admired and feared. Ancient civilizations recognized its unusual behavior and incorporated it into folklore, often associating it with magical or otherworldly properties. However, eating it isn't such a good idea. The squirting cucumber is highly toxic to humans. Its fruit contains compounds that can cause severe irritation and other health issues if ingested or handled improperly. Despite its toxic nature, the squirting cucumber is a fascinating example of nature's ingenuity. Its explosive seed dispersal mechanism has captured the curiosity of botanists and adventurers alike, earning it a place among the plant kingdom's most unique creations. From a distance, it's a living testament to the lengths plants will go to ensure their survival. While the squirting cucumber uses explosive means to ensure it lives on, this next plant doesn't mind taking a fellow plant's life. 11. Strangler fig. If there's any plant that would have you believe it came out of a fairy tale, it would be the strangler fig. As much as it looks like the big tree with tendrils, it's actually a separate plant from the big tree. In the jungle or rainforest where vegetation can get crowded, the strangler fig is a parasitic plant that starts growing on another tree. While it stems and branches upwards in the hope of sharing the sun with its host tree, its roots grow downwards, almost as if it's strangling the host tree. And that's how this eerie but amazing-looking tree architecture is formed. In most cases, the strangler fig continues to literally strangle its host until it passes away, leaving its roots that are above ground where the bark of the host tree would have been if it didn't wither away. The roots continue to grow down until it reaches the forest floor and anchor themselves in the soil, making it viable for survival when its host is no more. One key element to its survival lies in its fruit. Because it's brightly colored, fleshy, and tender enough to attract birds and other animals, and when the seeds fall on top of other trees through the droppings of the bird, its life cycle continues. As much as it starts off as a normal plant, it's only considered a parasite given how its roots are detrimental to its host plant. If not, the strangler fig doesn't actually derive its nutrients from the host plant. Plants that live on another plant without draining it of its nutrients are called epiphytes. Do you know what else is draining? Being the biggest flower in the world. This next plant is a flower so big that it needs help from other plants to survive. 10. Corpse lily. The corpse lily is one flower that you've got to see at least once in your lifetime, because it's so ridiculously huge as a flower that it's hard to believe that this is a real-life flower and not a prop in a movie set. Native to the rainforests of Borneo and Sumatra, this plant loves the cool, humid environment of a tropical rainforest. It can weigh up to over 10 kilograms, and each petal can grow up to the length of a foot. And the reddish-orange petals with light spots make it hard to miss, especially with a deepened center in the middle. And if you're wondering why it's called a corpse lily, it's because of the strong, unpleasant smell it emits. But this smell is key to the plant's survival, because it's this smell that attracts carrion flies, which help pollinate the flower. But the odor it gives off isn't the only thing deathly about this plant. It's hard to imagine a flower without a stem with leaves on it, but the corpse lily doesn't sit on a stem or have leaves. Even if it looks like it's a part of another plant, it's not. That's just its host. All the corpse lily has roots underneath the flower to feed on nutrients from other plants. But you should know that this flower is rarer than you would believe. The buds from which the flower blooms take between 8 to 12 months to fully mature, and by the time they do bloom, the flower begins wilting after a week. So if you ever stumble across one, just know that you are at the right place at the right time, just like this next flower, which blooms so rarely that seeing its petals unfold gets a crowd cheering. 9. Corpse flower. Not to be mistaken for the corpse lily, the corpse flower is also a parasitic, largely sized flower that was originally native to Indonesia. The sheer size of this plant makes it one that is very, very hard to miss. The corpse flower's inflorescence can grow to a size of over 10 feet in height, which is the same height as a standard basketball rim. When it blooms, the petals unfold to reveal a very dark purple color on the inside and a light green on the outside of its furrow-textured petals. And its corm can weigh as much as an adult male. This flower isn't just tall, it's massive. The petals can reach diameters of up to over 4 feet, with a spadix in the middle, giving this plant a very grand aura. It's one of the few plants in the world where people actually gather to watch it bloom. That's right, this plant is so magnificent that it commands a crowd. But that's because it takes between 7 years to a decade for the corpse flower to grow before it's mature enough to bloom, and even the blooming process barely lasts more than a day. But it's not the fact that it dies so fast that gives it the name corpse flower. That would be a result of the odor it releases. The flower produces a smell similar to that of a rotting corpse in the hopes of attracting insects such as the carrion beetle and flesh flies, which help the flower to pollinate. 8. Venus flytrap. We know plants use the sun to get food and the ones that don't use their roots to attach to other plants, but a carnivorous plant is one of nature's marvels. And the Venus flytrap shows just how endless the possibilities of what nature holds are. Aside from the green color of the plant, which suggests that it does carry out photosynthesis, it's the leaves that are specially designed for trapping flies that make it the plant that it is. The flytrap is made up of 2 lobes, hinged on one side and with spikes on the other side. The inside of these lobes is brightly colored and scented to lure unsuspecting insects. When a fly comes in contact with the inside of these lobes, it touches the tiny hairs on the surface of the plant. This lets the plant know that food is ready, and that's when the 2 lobes come together and trap the insect. The spikes protruding on the edge of the lobes make it hard for the insect to escape. With its food secured, the Venus flytrap goes ahead to release enzymes that slowly break down the insect so it absorbs it, but the digestion process takes a very long time. On average, the Venus trap wouldn't be ready to catch prey again till after a week and a half. But the Venus flytrap isn't the only insect-eating plant out there. 7. Monkey cup. We've seen plants with very odd shapes and sizes and even abilities, but this particular plant would make you believe that nature intended for primates to use cutlery, because this plant looks like a cup for monkeys. And that's exactly what it's called, because it's believed that monkeys use it to drink. The monkey cup plant, or a pitcher plant, is a carnivorous group of plants found in the tropical regions of Southeast Asia, Madagascar, and Australia. That's right, this plant is kind of like a close cousin to the Venus flytrap, given that photosynthesis doesn't give them enough food, and they rely on eating actual insects as another source of food. But unlike the Venus flytrap, it doesn't rely on leaves built like a bear trap to get its food. As much as the monkey cup is what is most distinctive about the plant, the rest of it's pretty normal. It has flowers and a stem with leaves, and the monkey cup is actually an outgrowth attached to the leaves by tendrils. The cup-shaped plant has a rim that secretes nectar that attracts insects, and most insects fall inside of the monkey cup, and the hair cells facing down make it nearly impossible for the insect to climb out, and the inside of the monkey cup plant isn't empty. It was digestive fluids that started acting on the insect. But whining and dining isn't the only human thing that's going on in the plant kingdom. 6. Dancing plant. A plant having its leaves move is pretty impressive, but when it moves enough to be dubbed the dancing plant, it makes you wonder if nature sometimes has glitches. The dancing plant, also known as the telegraph plant, is found in tropical and subtropical regions of India and Southeast Asia. What makes this plant so peculiar is the dancing elliptical motions the side leaves of the plant make. If you want to see this plant grow, you should observe it under sunlight, or just have music playing close by. It'll pick up on these vibrations and start dancing. Scientists believe that there are 2 reasons why the leaves of the plant move the way it does. The first is that it does this to get as much sunlight as possible on a very sunny day, and the second is that, when it moves in response to music, the vibrations in the air are picked up by the plant's receptors, which trigger their movement. Due to this unique characteristic, this little plant has fascinated some of science's greatest minds, including Martin Hutuin, Sir Joseph Hooker, and even the great Charles Darwin. 5. Walking palm. The walking palm, or cachapona, is a plant found in the rainforests of Central and South America, and as much as it does allude that it has achieved an evolutionary milestone by being able to walk, that's not really the case. It's the roots that protrude so far above the ground that it gives the appearance that it has legs which it uses to walk. Despite the fact that they are found in the swampy marshes within rainforests, these stilt roots are not an adaptation for the microenvironment. And as much as they don't exactly walk, there's another reason why they have this name. These stilt roots allow them to grow over debris on the forest floor, such as fallen logs of wood or boulders. And when they grow over such objects, it actually looks like they are stepping over these objects. Aside from that, when the trunk of the palm tree is damaged, a new trunk can grow from healthier roots, and sometimes when a particular place isn't favorable, the roots can start growing towards a place with more sunlight. All of these actions give the impression that the plant is actually walking when it's really just growing all over the place. But that's not even the most obscure plant in this video. 4. Jackal food. Jackal food has a very peculiar appearance that you can't miss. Like most flowers, it is fleshy and emerges from the ground instead of the stem, and the way it blooms looks like a monster opening its mouth to devour something. While the outside of it looks brown and scaly, when it blooms, it has an orange-pink interior. But there is more to this plant than meets the eye. You won't see a shade of green on it, so it doesn't carry out photosynthesis, but you won't believe how this plant gets its nutrients. Native to the southern semi-arid region of Africa, it is a parasitic plant that can never be seen alone. Its thick roots latch onto the roots of other plants and take nutrients from them. And in the sandy soils and hot climate it's found it, plants here have to resort to unconventional means to survive. But this plant doesn't just look and act strange, it also has a smell to match its uncanny appearance. The odor it gives off is similar to that of decaying material, but somehow this attracts insects to pollinate it, as well as animals to eat its fruit, which is buried in the ground. Porcupines and moles are among the various animals that eat the fruit of this plant. But no animal eats it more than jackals, hence the name jackal food. But this next flower is named after the animal it looks like, and not the animal that eats it. 3. Bat's flower. The bat plant, or devil flower, is one of the most mysterious and striking flowers in the botanical world. Native to the tropical forests of Southeast Asia, this exotic plant gets its name from its dark, bat-shaped bracts that surround small clusters of flowers. These bracts are often black, deep purple, or maroon, giving the flower its eerie and dramatic appearance. Eerie and dramatic? That sounds a lot like a horror movie you should know. The bat's flower can grow up to 12 inches wide, with long, trailing, whisker-like structures extending from its base, sometimes reaching over 2 feet in length. These whiskers enhance its otherworldly allure and are thought to play a role in attracting pollinators such as flies and beetles. Despite its spooky look, the bat's flower is surprisingly delicate and requires specific growing conditions. It thrives in warm, humid environments with well-drained soil and indirect sunlight, mimicking its natural rainforest habitat. This unique plant has captivated gardeners and botanists alike, symbolizing mystery, transformation, and the unseen forces of nature. Its rare beauty makes it a conversation piece in any collection, blending the macabre and the magnificent in a single bloom. But it's not just animals, plants are taking after even non-living objects as well. 2. Pebble plant. Pebble plants, also known as lithops, are tiny wonders of the plant kingdom, perfectly adapted to life in some of the driest regions on Earth. Native to the arid deserts of southern Africa, these plants are masters of disguise, blending seamlessly into their rocky surroundings to avoid being eaten by herbivores. Each plant consists of 2 fleshy, bulbous leaves that resemble small stones or pebbles. These unique shapes and colors allow pebble plants to camouflage themselves against predators, while their thick leaves store water, ensuring survival during long droughts. The biology of pebble plants is a marvel of evolution. Most of the plant's body remains below ground, with only the upper leaf surfaces exposed to sunlight. These exposed areas are often translucent, allowing light to penetrate and reach the photosynthetic tissues hidden below. This adaptation minimizes water loss while still enabling the plant to produce energy. Pebble plants grow slowly and flower sparingly, typically producing small, daisy-like blooms that emerge from the crevice between their leaves. These flowers open during the day to attract pollinators and close at night to conserve energy. Culturally, pebble plants have captured the hearts of plant enthusiasts and collectors worldwide. Their odd, stone-like appearance makes them a favorite in succulent gardens, where they are prized for their low-maintenance nature and otherworldly aesthetic. Indigenous communities in Africa have long been aware of their existence, often using them as markers of fertile soil. To many, these plants symbolize resilience and the ability to thrive in the harshest conditions. Though they may appear lifeless at first glance, pebble plants are a vibrant example of life finding a way in even the most unforgiving landscapes. Their perfect blend of form and function makes them one of nature's most ingenious creations, showcasing the incredible adaptability of plant life. But the weirdest adaptation a plant can have is its ability to come back to life. Yes, a plant that can do that exists. 1. Resurrection plant. The resurrection plant, also known as the Rose of Jericho, is a fascinating desert plant that thrives in extreme conditions. Found in arid regions such as the Chihuahuan Desert, it has the unique ability to survive prolonged periods of desiccation, and you won't believe what this plant does to survive. When water is scarce, the resurrection plant curls into a dry brown ball, appearing lifeless. However, upon contact with moisture, it unfurls into a lush green state, showcasing its remarkable survival strategy. This process, known as poikilohydry, allows the plant to lose up to 95% of its water content without dying, and then rehydrate when conditions improve. The resurrection process usually starts within a few hours, and the plant typically unfurls completely within 24 to 48 hours of being exposed to water. The resurrection plant is often used as a symbol of hope, resilience, and renewal in various cultures. It is also studied for its unique biochemical properties, such as the production of trehalose, which protects its cells during dehydration. The funny thing about this plant is that it is so specialized in surviving in places with low water and arid conditions that if it stays in a very humid place or it's soaked in water, it would get moldy and die. The Rose of Jericho's ability to rise from the dead has made it a symbol of hope and rebirth across various cultures. In Christian tradition, it is associated with the resurrection of Christ in the Christian religion, hence the name. In folk magic and pagan beliefs, it's believed to bring peace, power, and abundance into a home. The lore surrounding this plant is present in many cultures around the globe. There you have it. The weirdest plants on Earth. Which plant did you find the most weird? Let us know in the comments section, and what features of it you find really bizarre. Don't forget to hit the like button. Thanks for watching.